Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Tuesday, November 24th edition of the MMAOB Daily Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Adam Martin, and I'll be taking you guys through the latest in the world of mixed martial arts. And on this Tuesday morning, I'm joined by my co-host here, Mr. Cole Shelton, with his glorious Movember. One more week of it, Cole, and then you can shave it. But I'm not letting you shave it. Even though I have to shave, because last week I felt like a dirtbag after that guy pointed out your dirty mustache. I was like, I got to shave my beard. So I feel nice and clean, Cole. Like you said, you look like an 80s porn star, which, again, no issues with that whatsoever. But one more week, Cole, and you're doing it for a good cause, so good job, man. We got a lot to get to today, Cole. It really is a lot. We had, obviously, UFC 255 this past weekend. We had Bellator 253, which everyone's, not even talking about, even though a lot of stuff happened on that card. Invicta, there was a card. Legacy FC, there was kind of a card. I mean, lots of fights fell off the last second, but there is something to talk about there. And then, of course, this weekend's card, UFC on ESPN 18, UFC Vegas 15, whatever you want to call it. Curtis Blaydes versus Derrick Lewis. So we'll be breaking down that whole card for you guys. And then we have some news and fight announcements. Actually, you broke one of the fights, Cole, so I'll get you to talk about that one. And read your questions throughout the show, guys. You have questions, throw them in, and myself and Cole will answer your questions. All right, Cole, let's start with UFC 255. Let's just go through it, Cole, because there's obviously a lot to talk about here. We'll spend about 15, 20 minutes on the recaps, guys, from last week, because, again, there's a few cards to talk about here, but we'll start with UFC. Overall, Cole, I mean, okay, so I really don't like to complain about watching cards anymore because I feel like we're lucky we get to do this for a living, seriously. So I don't want to complain about it, but I will say this. The 10 p.m. start time is just too late now. It's ridiculous, and for a guy like me who has to work 8 a.m. on every Sunday morning, I didn't get much sleep, and I'm not complaining too much. I love what I do. Don't get me wrong. It's a blessing that we get to cover MMA, but my girlfriend watching me, Cole, and she fell asleep, and she wanted to watch that Valentina fight so bad and watched about a round and then fell asleep. The card, it just starts too late, and this weekend's card is 10 p.m. too. They got to change this, right? This has got to go the way of the dodo. It's 2020, Cole. There's no reason these cards should be starting at 10 p.m. Eastern time. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think this week is a 6-fight main card, unless they switched it. I sure hope they switched it, because 10 p.m. versus 6-fight main card is absolute. No fight night should be 10 p.m.
Yeah.
I'm looking at ESPN lists. Yeah, ESPN lists 6 fights on the main card, too. So, and first off, they have to realize the majority of combat sports fans are going to be watching that Mike Tyson fight. It's obviously not going to be no one knows what it's going to be like, but just for the nostalgic reasons, and just it might be the last time you ever see Mike Tyson or Roy Jones fight. So I think the UFC kind of dropped the ball watching, because I think you could have started this main card at 6 or 7 p.m., be done by 10 p.m., and that's exact. And Mike Tyson or Roy Jones are probably going to fight around, 11:30 probably, because I think the main card starts at about 9. I think there's 4 or 5 fights, so about 11:30. So I think the UFC dropped the ball, because what are fans going to watch? Mike Tyson or Roy Jones Jr., or about the third fight on the main card, which is Parisian, Parker Porter, Anthony Smith? I don't really think this card's one that's going to keep the fans away from watching that card.
Yeah, I mean, I'll watch both, obviously. So will you, Cole. We have to, and we want to. I love combat sports, so do you, Cole. But for a casual fan, they're going to probably switch between the two or pick one of the two. I understood back in the day when, UFC went head-to-head with Affliction and stuff like that. It made sense, but it's 2020. I don't really see the point of going head-to-head with Mike Tyson, especially when Dana's, friends with him, too. It's kind of weird, Cole, honestly. Don't really understand the timing for this card, but regardless, I think that based on what I saw on Twitter, people didn't really enjoy this UFC 255 card that much. Cole, it feels like a lot of fans felt like, again, the start time, but also there's a few other things. First off, way too many commercials doing the actual pay-per-view. You already bought the pay-per-view. You don't need to be watching commercials for fights. I'll give you an example, and this wasn't on the pay-per-view, the Buckley fight. Right before the fight started, they showed this highlight with Kasanga. It's we already know this guy's good. Why do you have to show that right now? These guys are ready to go. That didn't make sense to me. And the commentary was terrible for this card. Anik did okay, but Cormier and Joe Rogan were absolutely horrible in this card.
They didn't even know how to judge. They're do the judges handle the scorecards at the end of the fight? They can switch the round?
It was actually kind of embarrassing to listen to. It just showed they didn't take it that seriously. Joe Rogan, the guy's been around. He's a legend, man. He's been in the UFC, working for them for over 20 years. So I respect Joe. I mean, when I got into the sport as a fan, I learned a lot from listening to Joe Rogan. I think a lot of casual fans listen to the commentators and learn from them. How could you learn anything from this card? They didn't say anything was worth listening to. I would hope that Dana White or whoever runs the production had a talk with these guys, because it was, to me, not up to par, Cole. To be honest with you, the commentary was not up to snuff on this card. And when fans online are talking more about the commentary and what the commentators are saying wrong and their facts, getting facts wrong like every fight, that's embarrassing. So I know Joe Rogan doesn't care. He's a millionaire. He doesn't care, Cole. Honestly, he doesn't. And I doubt DC cares either, although I would hope he would, because he'll probably be doing this role for a long time. Because I think this is just showed Joe's got one foot out the door already, Cole. I think he just didn't care. And I'll say this, right before the card started, I said, oh, Joe Rogan's doing it. I'm really curious to hear what kind of research he did. I wrote that on Twitter like 6 o'clock. Well, it turns out, Cole, he didn't do any research whatsoever. The only guys he knew about were like Tim Means and like Shogun. That's it. He didn't know any of these new guys, Cole. And come on, I mean, Cole, me and you do this for the love of it, man. Like, we do this podcast, we research it. I'm busting Cole's chops. I'm like, Cole, dig deeper in these fights. These guys are getting paid tons of money and doing nothing for it, Cole. So to me, it bothered me, and I saw what everyone was saying, guys. So it's not just you. Most people didn't really enjoy this card because the commentary took it down a notch. Here we go. Fight night picks. What's going on, guys? Mr. Craig Allen, what's going on? Respect the mustache, Mr. Cole Shelton. Yeah, I love it. I love it. All right, Cole. So let's actually get into the card now after we complained about it. But Figueiredo and Perez. Now, basically, what happened was Perez just made a small mistake and he got caught. Like, he paid for a tiny mistake with his neck and got tapped out in the first minute. And we might as well talk about the Moreno fight right now because we already know who these guys are fighting each other. And Moreno, that fight was a pretty crazy fight. Royval's shoulder popped out. Really unfortunate. He was losing the fight, though. Like, it's funny because a lot of people on Twitter were like, oh, Royval was going to come back and win. And I'm like, I actually picked Royval there. And I'm like, he was getting smashed, man. Like, I don't see any way he was going to come back. I know he's got good cardio, and so does Moreno. So both those guys win. Like I said, Cole, we'll talk about it right now. They've been matched up against each other. UFC 256. That fight's happening in less than 3 weeks. So were you surprised how quickly they booked that fight? Or I guess now that we know that Petr Yan and Sterling's off the card, it makes sense, right?
Yeah, it makes sense. But both these last two pay-per-views kind of fell short. I think the UFC's – I don't know why. Hear me out. Why not make the December 19th pay-per-view? Throw Figueiredo.
Well, hold on. Let me stop you there. I'm going to stop you there right now because I saw Ariel tweet the same thing. This doesn't make sense to me, Cole. I'll be honest. Why the fuck would you want to pay for it if you're getting it for free? Why would you want to? So I don't get that. I don't get it, Cole. I got to be honest. I saw Ariel say the same thing. Why would you pay for that card when they're already giving it to you? The UFC is giving us a Christmas gift. They're giving us the Kamaev card for free. That card's insane, by the way. The card's stacked. Don't tell them they want to pay for it, Cole, because they will hear this and they will make us pay $60 for it. So please stop.
Well, you got to pay for one anyways. I just think that card's a much better pay-per-view. And then you get Ferguson, Charles Oliveira for 5 rounds.
That fight should be 5 rounds, but either way. But we do have odds for the fight, Cole, between Figueiredo and Moreno. Right now, minus 250 plus 210. I mean, I'm not surprised, Cole, but I still feel like the odds are a little bit wide. You know, I figured it was amazing. You can't bet against him, really. It's hard to. He's incredible, but Moreno's good, and he does have that wrestling, Cole. We saw how did Figueiredo lose his last fight in the UFC? His only fight. How did he lose, Cole?
He
got taken down. Yeah. So I mean, Moreno's probably going to want to take him down and hold him there. He's super dangerous on the mat, though. His guillotine is sick. Anyways, I like Figueiredo. I know you do too. I mean, you've been talking with him and Blaydes for a couple of years. Like, you've been on him for a long time. So have I. I picked Figueiredo on I think every fight he's had in the UFC except for the first Benavidez fight. But other than that, I picked him every fight. I love the guy. He's incredible, and I think he's going to be good. But this fight with Moreno, it's weird how short notice this book because first off, it's the quickest turnaround for a champion and a challenger in UFC history. Previously, I think it was 28 days for Derrick Lewis. He had fought Cormier a month after he knocked out Volkov. So this is actually going to break a record here with these guys stepping in there. But they took no damage, especially Figueiredo. Like, he took 0 damage in this fight, so I'm fine with it. The odds, again, a little bit high in my opinion, Cole, but a great fight. I'm looking forward to it. I want to get this comment here. Turn up MMA. What's going on, man? I like the avatar, too. Is that Nick Diaz? That's pretty sick. What's up, gentlemen? Both of you are my predictor tournament, which will track your picks for 25 events, beginning with the first event of 2021. Preseason started last event. Sick. Good stuff, man.
Good thing it's not this year because I've been terrible since they returned.
It's one of those years. Like, I actually was doing really well in the beginning of the year, and then when the UFC returned in May, I had these events where I did so bad, and that's why if you look at the staff picks, I'm closer to the bottom than at the top, which sucks. I mean, you want to be at the top, but the last bunch of events I did okay, except for this past card. This card was pretty tough. I mean, looking through it, I think we both went 5-7. It was a pretty tough card. I looked through the staff picks. Most people did like 6-6 or 5-7. I don't think too many people had good nights. There was quite a few upsets. This fight wasn't an upset. Valentina Shevchenko defeats Jennifer Maia. I think you went out at the time, and I messaged you. I go, dude, Jennifer Maia's actually winning this fight. She won the second round. She did good in that second round, but otherwise it was pretty much what I expected. I actually thought the fight would take place mostly on the ground, so I'm not surprised. I guess Jennifer Maia, you got to give her some credit for surviving because most people do get finished against Shevchenko, but I'll be honest, Cole, this fight was super boring. It was super boring. My girlfriend fell asleep. She loves Valentina. She wanted to watch her knock someone out. And the first round was her just lying on top in guard. The referee could have stood that fight up. It was a boring fight, guys, honestly. Good for Shevchenko. It was a tough style matchup for her. Maya's kind of one of those – she's one of those fighters where it's very hard to look good against, so I understand, like, a lot of her fights are very ugly decisions. But this fight was not very good. The good thing is Shevchenko's next fight is probably going to be against Andrade, and that fight I can't see being boring. Andrade is just pedal to metal, moving forward the whole time. And to me, that's the fight that makes sense. I know Lauren Murphy wants it, but Cole, she beat someone who none of us ever heard of, Lilia Shakirova. Like, that doesn't get you a title shot. I know she has 4 wins, but they're not good wins. So to me, Andrade 100% is going to get the shot, and Dana White already said that. What are your thoughts?
How big of a favorite do you think Shevchenko is going to be over Andrade? I don't think she's going to be like 1,000, which she's been. I think it's a lot closer. I think she's still going to be sizable. I wouldn't be surprised if she's 500 or 600 just because it's Shevchenko, but I can't see it being any higher than like 650 probably.
Dude, I was just about to say the same thing. I honestly was going to say minus 600. To me, that seems right, like minus 600 plus 400, but it could go up to like minus 800. I don't think it should be minus 1,000 either because I think Andrade has a chance because she does have KO power. Like, she just knocked out Chukagi, and that's a great win. That's a really good win, especially after Caitlin looked pretty good in this card. So I'm with you, Cole. She's going to be favored in that fight, no doubt about it. We all know she'll be favored, but I don't think it's as much of a mismatch as some of these other fights she's had, including this fight, which I think, what did it close at? Minus 2,000 or something? Let me take a look. She closed minus 2,500 at Bet365.
And I saw you tweet about it. I have a problem too. Why are the UFC showing all these stupid bets that are saying this person's putting 20 grand to win 100?
Dude, I'm with you. I mean, listen, they're all in on promoting gambling, which me and you are obviously. I've been working in the gambling business for 10 years, so I'm totally fine with it. Like, I understand it used to be taboo. I get that. It isn't anymore. Gambling is part of our fabric of life. It's part of common life. If they want to promote it, fine. They want to put betting odds up. They've been doing that for a few years. No problem. Please stop posting these shitty bets the guys are making, putting 20K on like 5-fight parlays with 3 underdogs to win like 500 grand or whatever it is. It's a joke. It's actually influencing people in a bad direction, in my opinion. Listen to us. Listen to me and Cole. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time. I think I have a decent system of betting. You don't want to be putting more than 2, maybe 3 people in the parlay. I mean, and I don't really like to do that, guys. I like straight bets because I like to win or lose. That's me. These guys putting 20K. It's some rich dude it's clicking buttons. That's what it is.
20K is like $20 to them. It's like,
oh, it's a guy who's a millionaire. It doesn't matter to him. Like, if you had $1 million, you probably laid 20,000 on like Figueiredo. You probably would have did it yourself. You probably be like, that's an easy 10 grand or whatever it was. That's probably what he would have did. But when they're putting 5 guys together and 3 of them are underdogs, it's stupid. And I tweeted that out, and it got a lot of actually positive feedback, and people agreed with me. They're kind of like all right, it's a little too much. And also, and I know that they do put my tweets on there. It's good, but sometimes they put too many tweets, I think, and it can be a little distracting as well. So I can definitely see that as well. Going on next fight, catch weight bout, Tim Means, Mike Perry. Mike Perry missed weight. He looked good in the first round. He had the back of Tim Means almost got him with the neck crank, I guess. But after that, just his conditioning let him down, Cole. Okay, so I love Tim Means. I'm not surprised he won. I really wish I switched my pick. I even messaged you. I said, man, he missed weight by 4 pounds. I got to switch my pick. I didn't do it. Regret it. But as far as the fight goes, it's just more proof that Mike Perry really shouldn't be fighting the UFC anymore, I don't think. He doesn't take it seriously, Cole. He doesn't care about his job that much, in my opinion. He's got his pregnant girlfriend, some random dude that none of us have ever seen whose face is covered up. That was weird, Cole. That whole thing was weird. I don't know. Listen, Mike Perry's good for guys like us, Cole, because you write an article with Mike Perry, it's going to do pretty well as far as hitting goes, but I'm kind of tired of this guy. I'm not going to lie, Cole. What are your thoughts on Mike Perry? I'm kind of over the whole Mike Perry shtick. What do you think?
I thought the UFC had a good chance to cut him after everything that happened, just with like his ex-wife, and then obviously that thing with the old man at the bar. Obviously, that was not a good look. And what kind of strange is the UFC's like, we're not going to offer him a fight until he gets help. Then literally like 2 weeks later, he got a fight. I'm like, the help. Oh, he's cured after 2 weeks. I'm like, what kind of like? He said he wanted to go through like anger management stuff for like alcohol and stuff, and then it's literally like a week and a half later, he's booked against Robbie Lawler. I don't get it. I think you could make the case to cut him. He's what is he? I think he's 3-6 in his last 9, something like that, or 4-5. But I know he has a losing record. He hasn't looked.
He's 7-7 in the UFC. I just checked. He's 7-7, so he's perfect 7-7.
But he struggled as of late. Like, I know he's 1-3 in his last 4, and the one wins over Mickey. I don't think he's UFC caliber. I don't think he's a good look for the sport at all. I don't think he's a UFC caliber fighter anymore. He definitely has skills. Like, this guy beat Cowboy Oliveira and Paul Felder. He won't beat Cowboy Oliveira and Paul Felder. I know Felder was short notice up at welterweight, broke his arm in the fight, but you don't look good against them without having some skills. But he just never cared too much. He's just I don't understand. Like, he looks good against Vicente Luque, and then he does this against Tim Means. Like, I don't know if he really cares about his career anymore.
No, he doesn't.
Hopefully him having the kid will change his mindset. Like,
he doesn't care about his career, so why should we? I mean, that's how I look at it. Like, he doesn't even show up on weight. He doesn't train. He's sending Tim Means videos of him chewing burgers and stuff. Those burgers cost him $30,000, Cole. I hope they were worth it, man. They better have been some good burgers. So, listen, Mike Perry's an entertaining guy. Don't get me wrong. And again, we write an article for him on BJ Pinnacle. People are going to read it. Don't get me wrong. But as someone who's been covering the sport for a long time, you just kind of see guys that have a lot of red flags around them. And this is a guy that it's freaky because he reminds me of War Machine a little bit. I really don't want to compare it to, because War Machine, he's such a bad person, but a lot of the same red flags, Cole, honestly. When the UFC said they wanted to get him help, he should have been out of the cage for at least 6 months to a year. He was back in 2 weeks being booked against Robbie Lawler. They don't care, Cole. Let's be honest. The UFC doesn't care. They want to put him in the card because they thought it was going to be a good fight. He ends up losing. Now he's lost 3 of his last 4 fights. They'll probably give him another fight, Cole. Let's be honest. Dana White likes the guy, but I wouldn't offer him a fight.
Give him someone like Mickey so he can get another win.
And then he just stays in the roster longer.
Yep.
It is what it is. All right, let's get through the rest of the card quick, Cole. Chookagian defeats Calvillo. Not a great fight. Chookagian's really not that exciting to watch. I saw her tweet the other day. She basically said, well, I'm the one fighting. I don't want to get brain damage. Just the way I fight. Cole, she's been in the UFC since 2016. She has 0 finishes in the UFC. She has 6-4. All 10 fights have gone the distance. It's entertainment too. It's not just about winning and losing. It's also about putting on entertaining fights for the fans. And I really don't think she's did that. Also, she's fought 4 times this year, so I'll give her credit for that. She's been finished twice in those fights. But other than that, Cole, it's the same point fighting Katlyn Chookagian. And I just don't really enjoy watching her fight. What are your thoughts on her?
I still remember watching her fight when I was at 231 in Toronto, and people were booing that fight against Jessica. I feel like every single fight she's in, she gets booed. And it makes it even worse watching her fight when there's no fans, because all you hear is her scream, and I don't.
The whole hot thing. I mean, listen, that's when you train Muay Thai, they do teach you to do it to a certain extent, but she kind of over exaggerates in my opinion, and I think she does it for the judges too, Cole. She tries to make those noises, and they think, oh, well, she hit her. So to me, that's part of her game plan too. But like I said, she has 10 fights, and she hasn't finished anyone. And in fact, in her career, she has 15 wins, only 3 by stoppage. So this is a fighter who needs to start finishing fights. I don't see her getting another title shot anytime soon. Paul Craig defeats Mauricio Shogun Rua, Cole, by TKO in the second round. It was a tap out to strikes. To me, those should be submissions.
Yeah.
Also, it's crazy how many people said this is the first time Shogun's tapped to strikes. No, it's not. Go back and watch the John Jones fight in 2011. He tapped to strikes in that fight. It's called a TKO. Watch the fight. Watch the finish. Look at his hand. Tap, tap. GSP tapped to strikes to Matt Serra, too. Go back and watch that fight. He tapped to strikes. Lots of good fighters have tapped to strikes.
Joanna tapped to strikes and throws.
There you go. Thank you. She did, actually. That's a good point. It happens, guys. If your brain's scrambled and your body's first reaction is to tap out, that's part of the sport. It's part of your brain saying it's fight or flight. So it's not these guys being wimps. And I saw people saying, this is proof Shogun's done. Dude, we've known Shogun's been done for a while. This is not proof of anything. There's a lot of stupid fans out there, Cole, who think that tapping out is some sign of being a pussy or something like that. This he's saving himself for another day, man. He was done. The referee should actually stopped in a little bit sooner. I think it was Herb Dean. So to me, I don't have a problem with him tapping the strikes, but he did hurt his elbow in this fight. He's been finished again. I think it's time for him to go, Cole, but he does have 2 fights left. Do you think he gets the Anderson Silva treatment and gets one more fight and gets his going away party? They let him bring his family in the octagon. Do you think that's what happens, or do you think Dana White's going to cut him right now?
I don't know. I think the problem is Shogun has won a lot of fights lately. He has a winning record. So maybe they do give him one more. He's obviously I think you give him the right matchup, he can go out on a win. I didn't really understand. I know he fought Paul Craig to a draw, but what was the point of beating Paul Craig or losing Paul Craig? It didn't do anything. I think he's in that time where let him fight some veterans. Let him try to go out on a win. Give him one more and see what happens. But what's crazy to me is he has the same age as Aljamain.
Yeah, I know. And Aljamain looks like he's like a supermodel who's like 25. It's crazy, right? I'm with you, Cole. I think Shogun's definitely in decline. We all know that, but I feel like it's a little bit exaggerated because you look at his record, Cole, and I'm not saying it's amazing, but he is 5-2-1 in his last 7 with the win over Corey Anderson. A fight I thought he lost, let's be fair, but he did beat Corey Anderson, who's ranked like number 5 in the world right now. So is he really that bad as Dana White said? I don't know. You don't want to see a guy tap out the strikes. I get that. It's not a good sign, but it doesn't mean that he's some washed up bum. I still think there's some fights he could win in the UFC, but like I said, with 2 fights left, Cole, he's already talked about he wants to be like an ambassador for the sport, which I think is a great idea. I think he'll get like one more fight, Cole. I just don't know who it's going to be because I think the Little Nog fight should have been the retirement fight for both guys. It really should have been. And now he fights Paul Craig, and it's like, okay, who does he fight next? I'm not really sure. So it's kind of weird, but I'm sure there's someone they could find from the fight. Let's go through the prelims really fast here, Cole. Joaquin Buckley wins a bonus. I'm not really sure if he deserved it. It was a cool knockout, but how did Figueiredo not get a bonus? And I know Vali was pissed, right? So to me, that didn't make sense. Antonita, I'm fine with her getting a bonus. I was shocked by how good she looked. She looked incredible. At 36, she's actually improving her game, which is nice to see. She's getting takedowns. She's getting the fight to the mat and dominating the floor. Lipsky, by the way, Cole, 2-3 now, maybe getting cut, maybe. But she did have that nice finisher last fight. Nicholas Dalby's huge underdog here, picks up the win over D-Rod over Rodriguez by unanimous decision. I actually did score for Dalby. A lot of people said this is a robbery. Are you kidding me, guys? This is not a robbery whatsoever. I'm sorry if you put Rodriguez in your parlay, and most people did, including me. It's not a robbery. You got to score fights objectively. Too many people watch fights, Cole, because they had money in a guy. They're like, he won. Who did you think won this fight, Cole? I thought Dalby won. What did you think?
I thought Rodriguez, but I had no complaint.
Would you call it a robbery? Would you?
No.
Exactly.
The only issue I have with that fight is 30-27. I thought there was a clear round apiece for both guys. What round was? I think it was the second round. I think it was the second round. I think the third round was what? Third round was clear Rodriguez. First round was clear Dalby, or maybe it was the other way around. I don't remember what it was either, but it should have been 29-20 either way. 29-20 either way, I had no problem.
Yeah, I'm with you. That's a stretch. Aljamain, Jared Gooden, great fights. I know that there was a certain guy who kept saying this was fight of the night. No, because the first fight was fight of the night. This was a good fight, though. Juban looked really good. Gooden's tough. He's very durable, but also the commentary for this fight was horrible. I mean, this is one fight because they literally praised everything Gooden did, which wasn't much, and they ignored pretty much everything Juban did, even though he won unanimously. He looked incredible. Kyle Dawkins defeats Dustin Stolfus. Man, that guy's huge for middleweight. He's a massive dude. And then finally, opening up the card, this was, to me, the best fight of the night, and a one fight of the night. Sasha Palatnikov defeats Louis Cossi. Huge upset, plus 450 dog. Didn't see that coming, Cole. Looking back now, I'm not really sure why Cossi closed at minus 570. I remember when we talked about it, he was like minus 300, which made sense. Minus 600, that was kind of a stretch. I love this fight, though. It was an incredible fight. Palatnikov looks good, Cole. What do you think of this fight? I loved it, man.
Yeah, this is a good fight. You honestly could have made an argument that it could have been stopped in the first round when Cossi was hand.
Yeah, I think so. It's possible. And how many upsets have we seen, Cole, where a guy who's the big favorite is smashed the other guy, he can't get the finish, and goes back and loses?
Well, that was a big knock on Cossi, is we've never seen him outside the first round. Yep. People were questioning his cardio, and this just kind of cemented the case that whatever he gets out of the first round. He put way too much energy to try to finish through the fight. He was close. If they stopped it, I would have no problem with it. I had no problem with him letting it go. It's kind of one of those ones where it was really up to the ref. He stopped it, okay. If he let it go, it was totally fine. But I don't know, because Cossi, obviously, I honestly thought Lewis was the better Cossi brother, but after this, I don't really know. I have to see, that's what the problem is. They fought literally no one on the regional scenes, and they got him ran out so quickly. So what was his cardio like? Yeah, I remember last week, and I'm the first guy to admit I'm wrong, and I said, why is Platnikov in the UFC? Why did he get a free go? And when this Cossi had to win on Contender Series, well, we see why. Clearly, a matchmaker saw this guy is quite good, so I was excited about that. But he has been knocked out twice in 6 fights, so it's still a little bit worrisome. Now let's go through Bellator really quick, Cole, because we obviously have to start getting to the next card. But we got to talk about the main event. AJ McKee, I called it, Cole. I love the guy. I love AJ McKee, guys. I was so confident in winning this fight. First round, neck crank from guard. I mean, it was such a sick, nasty submission. Now the question is, Cole, does he beat Pitbull in the finals or Sanchez? Does he win the title? What do you think? I think this guy's legit, but
I told you, man, he's incredible.
Him versus Pitbull is such a good. Remember when probably, what was it, 2-3 years ago, everyone's like, who's the better prospect, Aaron Pico or AJ McKee? It's kind of funny to look back on that. Like, they're like, oh, who's the better featherweight prospect? Because their teammates, it's like, it's all about who's going to get to the title first. And it's not even close on who's getting to the title first.
Yeah, no, he's incredible. And I can't wait to see that fight. Pitbull is fighting Sanchez in a rematch. The winner will fight McKee for the belt. At this point, Cole, I feel like McKee should be favored against either guy, honestly. And I love Pitbull. Don't get me wrong. He might be favored. But I'll tell you right now, if you're the books, you can't give plus money on McKee because people will gobble it up, Cole. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a really close line. There's a lot of other fights in this card, guys. We don't have time to talk about it. There's a few other things I want to get you really fast before the preview. In Invicta, Kayla Harrison made her featherweight debut, just absolutely destroying Courtney King. I mean, it was just a crimson bloodbath inside the octagon. Do you think she's got what it takes, Cole, to actually be a legitimate threat to Amanda Nunes?
I don't know. I don't
hard to say, right? Yeah.
I think her striking leaves a lot to be desired. Obviously, her ground game is so dominant, but Nunes and I think if it stays standing, I think Nunes is a much better striker. On the ground, it's probably pretty equal. If Nunes can keep it standing, I think she has a lot of path to victory. Obviously, Harrison's a lot bigger. She's going to be a lot bigger than Nunes. Nunes is a natural 35er. Harrison's a natural 55er. Like, it's going to be a big size difference. But do they ever fight? I'm not even sure because I think Nunes probably only has a couple more fights left. And right now, Harrison's locked into PFL for, I think, 2 more years. I think it was a multi-fight deal she re-signed last year. Yeah, she's got 2 more fights, and she'll probably fight in the next tournament because it seems like they'll probably do one at featherweight next year. But I think at this point she's ready for the UFC. But honestly, if you're her, like, wouldn't you fight easier competition to make $1 million? It makes more sense. Oh, she just runs through the entire tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. Straight wager. What's going on, bro? First fight was a banger. Happy to see it get 50 views. Me too, man. And way too many people said the Mike Perry fight should win the fight of the night. No chance. I love Mike Perry. Tim Means. I love Tim Means. Mike Perry's exciting.
Well, Tim Means would have got 100K because of that. So
yeah, I mean, it would have been nice for Tim. I love Tim. Exactly. That's the other thing. Mike was ineligible, so there was no point really. And this fight was better. The last thing I want to talk about, my boy Alex Perez, Cole, gets another quick knockout, this time in MMA. His first MMA fight in 4 years over in LFA. I can't wait to see this guy in the UFC, Cole. I just think it's a matter of time. The fact he's in LFA, the fact he's got that feeder deal. When I talked to him last month and talked to his manager, Matthias, I was surprised when he was like, hey, I have a 2-fight deal with LFA. I was like, really? No one knew about this. Now he's got the first round of the way, a vicious KO. There's actually a card in a few weeks. Maybe he fights in that card before the year's up, Cole. It's just a matter of time until he's in the UFC, right?
Oh, 100%. I think probably one more fight in LFA, get another.
And how good is his striking, though? I mean, seriously, like, it's the next level, right?
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, it's so good. And that's the difference between like a glory kickboxer and MMA kickboxer. Like, you saw Dustin Jacoby, a guy who really wasn't that good at MMA, goes to glory, hones his skills, comes back. Now he's like the destroyer of worlds. So a lot to talk about. All right, that's it for this card. We're gonna go to UFC Fight Night Blaydes versus Lewis. So we got a lot to talk about. By the way, have you noticed the poster that's been going around for this card on the internet?
It looks like it's folded in half.
Someone like the UFC intern or whoever folded the poster in half and then took a picture of it. It's because I was like looking at it. Actually, cool. I was looking for my article and I was like, where can I find this picture? I kept seeing all the folded ones. I'm like, what the hell? And then I realized that someone in the UFC screwed up. So it's kind of funny. Anyways, let's get through this card, guys. So a lot to talk about here, Cole. While I'm setting up, just overall thoughts on this card.
It's an all right card. I think there's some fights going forward to. It's not the best of fight night cards, but I mean, you watch fights and you can't really complain too much.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. We love what we do. I'm so blessed to do what I do. I've been doing it for almost 10 years, so I can't complain too much, guys. I mean, listen, it'd be nice for these cards to end a little bit earlier and stuff like that, but at the same time, man, we got to watch, 12 fights this weekend? I'll take that any day of the week. So let's start with the first fight in the card, Cole. Bantamweight bout, Nate Maness against Luke Sanders. Right now we got Maness. He is Sanders minus 140. Maness plus 120. Who's your pick?
I actually like Nate Maness in this fight. I worry about Luke Sanders' layoff. He hasn't fought in quite some time. February 2019 when he beat Henborough. Henborough, obviously, that's not the best win. Before that, lost to Randy Yaw, beat Patrick Williams, which guy's not in the UFC. And then this is what really – he got knocked out by Andrei Sukotov, who I don't think is that very good. He hasn't looked very impressed to me in the UFC. Like, obviously, he started off good with a win over Blanco. He looked good in RFA, beat Terry Unware, and Dan Moret, Derrick Minner. But in the UFC, he's 2-3, coming off a long layoff. Nate Maness has a lot to be desired with his takedown defense. That's a big issue. If Sanders wrestles, I think he can win this fight. But on the feet, I like Maness as a better striker. I worry about the layoff. I worry what Sanders is going to look like. He's getting up there in age. He's already 34 years old. Their size is pretty similar. Manis could have an inch reach advantage, not much there, but I like Manis just to be able to outstrike Sanders and win a decision.
I don't want to correct you or anything like that, but by any means, Cole, but it's actually a 5-inch reach advantage. I'm looking at the stats right now. So Manis 72-inch reach to 67 for Luke Sanders. So that's
Tapology says 71. That's
use Tapology. Use the UFC stats for that stuff. Because they obviously measure it and stuff. Also a 4-inch height advantage, which helps a little bit too, in my opinion. And also he's 6 years younger as well. And also as far as takedown defense goes, the last fight, this guy Johnny Munoz attempted 16 takedowns and he stuffed 14 of them. He only allowed 2 takedowns. So I think his takedown defense is not as bad as I thought at first, because I look back at it and his stats are good. Luke Sanders is only hitting 25% of his takedowns too. Again, numbers are one thing. It's just a supplement. Because honestly, I like Manis too in this fight, Cole. I'll be honest. I didn't think he looked that bad in his last fight. I mean, the strike stats are not good. He only landed 21 strikes, but he stopped 14 of 16 takedowns. That's pretty good. Luke Sanders is going to want to get the fight to the ground. I don't know if he's going to be able to do it on a consistent basis. If he does, he could finish the fight in the ground. He obviously has ground and pound. He's got submissions, but I think Manis can keep the fight standing. And on the feet, I think I give him a slight advantage with that reach. 5-inch reach advantage, guys. So Luke Sanders he's a guy that does have a high volume and a high pace, and it can definitely win in this fight. That's why he's slightly favored. But I will take a dog to start the card with you, Cole. I'm going to take the dog here, Nate Manis. I believe he wins a decision, Cole. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. Manis by decision plus 195. That's why I'm looking at that one. Next up, Sue Madarji versus Malcolm Gordon at 125. Interesting fight in the flyweight division. And right now we have Madarji. He's a big favorite, Cole, here. Minus 330. Malcolm Gordon, the Toronto, Ontario native, plus 270. What are your thoughts on this one?
I thought it was at bantamweight because I thought Gordon was moving up, but I
apologize. It might have been, actually. And also the first fight, guys, I should mention, it's actually at 140-pound catch weight, the Manis Sanders fight. Tapology is listing this fight as flyweight, Cole, but it could be wrong. You saw 135?
I thought it was bantamweight because
let me check on the UFC stats website because
either way, it doesn't change my pick. I like Sue Madarji here.
Flyweight, it is at 125. It's 125.
Okay. So obviously Sue is coming down to flyweight, which should be interesting. He is 24 years old, which I'm surprised he is that young. When I keep looking at him, I'm like, wow, he's that young. I'm not too impressed with him. Lost to Louis Smolka in his UFC debut, and beat Andre Super Tough. Has not fought since August 2019, which does scare me. But Malcolm Gordon obviously works Bazooka Joe. If he gets his fight down on the ground, I think he has a lot of success. I don't like the betting line. I think Sue can stuff the takedowns, keep the fight on the feet. And once it's on the feet, I think he's a much better striker than what Gordon is. I sort of just pick apart Gordon, probably win a decision. But again, I wouldn't bet this fight because I'm not laying that kind of chalk on Sue Madarji, who I'm not very high on.
Yeah, I'm with you on this. The line's too high, in my opinion. What did it open at? It must have been lower. Minus 175, which makes more sense. I think this line's been steamed up way too much, guys. I'm going to pass on a bet in this fight. I don't like Madarji at minus 330. I will pick him in this fight because, again, he has advantages. 6 years younger, like you said, Cole, only 24. He's a southpaw, which helps a little bit too. He's 1-inch reach advantage, 1-inch height advantage. But what I like about him is the activity and the volume, because you look at the stats in that fight with Sukatov, my God, he landed a lot of strikes in that fight. So I think, we've seen him fight before. We know he's a really good striker. We know Gordon's got some good striking too. But overall, I think Madarji is a little bit better on the feet. On the ground, it's going to be interesting, though, because we've seen both guys get submitted, Cole. I really don't think the fight's going to go to the ground. If it does, I'd probably actually give Gordon a slight edge there. So to me, Gordon, he does have some ways to win this fight. But overall, Cole, I got to go with Madarji. I just don't love the odds. I think minus 330 is a little bit excessive for this fight. A guy he only has 1-1 record in the UFC. Straight wager. Manis, look, I'm with you, bro. We both like Manis in that fight. Again, the takedown defense, and I think he might be a slightly busier striker in that fight too. All right, next up, this fight was booked on like 1 week's notice. Kai Kamaka III against Jonathan Pierce, JSP. And right now we have Kamaka, Cole. He's a big favorite, minus 330. Identical line last fight, plus 270 Pierce. I'll be honest, Cole, I feel the same way about this fight, the last one, but what are your thoughts?
Yeah, Pierce is actually dropped down a feather, which I'm kind of interested to see how he looks. And he was supposed to fight Sean Woodson, who I thought was a terrible match for him. Yeah. Sean Woodson, I think they were just trying to give Woodson I think the UFC likes Woodson. I think they're trying to give him a win because I think he would have just outstruck Jonathan Pierce. He had a huge reach advantage. But Kai Kamaka is stepping out short notice. Obviously, really good fight, really fun fight against Tony Kelly last time out. He should not be this big a favorite. I do think he will win. I'm not too high on Jonathan Pierce. He hasn't fought since October of last year when he got knocked out by Joe Lazone in the first round. Doesn't look too good. Got knocked out pretty early. Didn't show a whole lot in that fight, but Maybe featherweight's the home for her. Maybe it just was too undersized. So that's why I wouldn't bet this fight. If this should not be, Kakamok should not be anywhere near what he is right now. He should. I don't even think he should be a 2-1 favorite of Jonathan Pierce. Like, I don't understand this line on this fight. I like Kamaka to probably win. Maybe he finishes Jonathan Pierce. So we've seen Pierce get obviously finished last time out. He's been finished twice by submission. I don't know. I like Kai Kamaka in this fight, but no way I'm betting him at this price.
Yeah, I think the line's way too high in this fight too. First off, 1 week's notice. We just saw this fight get booked like a few days ago, so I don't know how much notice these guys are having. The fact it was booked at short notice does worry me because I know Pierce probably was training for a featherweight fight, but it's a short notice fight. So, I mean, can he even make that 145? We'll see. I don't know, Cole. I mean, to me, this fight's got upset potential on it, guys. Honestly, I could definitely see JSP winning. I mean, he's no GSP, obviously, or even an OSP, but JSP isn't as bad as I think as some people think. Like, yes, he got knocked out by Lozon. That was a terrible loss. Seriously, it's so bad looking back to lose to a guy like Lozon who's on his last legs. But before that, he had won 5 straight fights by stoppage, and he had won that fight in Contender Series, and he was a big favorite in that fight, I think, and people were talking about him as like a good prospect. So it's MMA. I mean, I understand you're only as good as your last fight, and he got destroyed by Joe Lozon. That's terrible, but I just don't think this guy's as bad as some people think he is. At the same time, Kamaka's got a lot of momentum coming in this fight. He's got, 6-fight win streak. He had that great fight with Tony Kelly. He won a decision in that fight. It was a great back-and-forth war. You look at his resume, though, what bothers me is the lack of finishing ability, Cole. 6 straight wins by decision. Can this guy even finish, guys? I don't know. Can he not if he can't put Pierce away, does he win a decision or does he lose a long drawn-out decision? I'm not sure. So there's obviously some advantages here for Kamaka. He's a little bit younger as well, stuff like that. But overall, I think the line's too high. So I'm going to pass on this one, Cole. I have no interest in this fight from a betting perspective. My pick's going to be Kamaka by decision. But honestly, guys, we saw what happened last week. There was 4 upsets and a few on the prelims. So don't just blindly bet that one. All right, next up, we have a women's flyweight bout between Rachel Ostovich and Gina Mazzani. Ostovich is 4-5 in her MMA career, and Gina Mazzani is 6-4. Wow, I can't believe this is in the UFC. Right now, Mazzani is the favorite, -150. Ostovich +130. What are your thoughts on this one, Cole?
I actually like Gina Mazzani, and I actually like the line of -150. I don't think Rachel Ostovich is UFC caliber. Gina Mazzani's cutting on to 125, and what I really like about this fight is she packed up everything for Vegas, moved up to Missouri to train under James Krause. I think James Krause is one of the best coaches in MMA. I don't think he gets enough respect. That camp doesn't get enough respect. I like that move for Gina Mazzani. I think she was a bit undersized for 135. And Rachel Ostovich, she hasn't fought. She got submitted by Paige VanZant on the first ESPN card back in January of 2019 when TJ Dillashaw lost to Henry Cejudo. That's how long ago that was. She has not fought since then. She got armbarred by Paige VanZant. She has a big hole in the ground, submitted by Montana De La Rosa. She's got submitted by Andrea Lee. I think Mazzani can get this fight down the ground. She doesn't have the best ground game, but even if it stays standing, Gina Mazzani is a much better striker than Rachel Ostovich. I think Gina Mazzani is going to win this fight all day. It's just, to me, whether or not she can finish Rachel Ostovich. We've seen Ostovich get finished quite often, but I think Mazzani wins, and I think this could be the end of the road for Ostovich in the UFC.
Yeah, by the way, the last fight, I should just mention this quickly. JSP actually has a 5-inch height advantage and 2-inch reach advantage. So he does have some advantages in that fight, guys. Again, I just think that line's too high. As far as this fight goes, man, I mean, I don't really think either of these fighters should be in the UFC. Gina Mazzani's in the UFC because she pretty much takes any fight they offer her. So I respect that. Rachel Ostovich is in the UFC because she's really hot, but she's not really much of an MMA fighter, in my opinion. She barely fights. She's looked pretty bad in the UFC in all of her fights, except for her first one where she won by submission. Since then, just to me, she's just not really an MMA fighter, Cole. I mean, I understand she's marketable. I can see why they like her, but this is definitely her last chance, I think, to win a fight. Same with Mazzani. Loser gets cut. Mazzani's got a 6-inch height reach advantage. She's a southpaw, which helps as well. She's far more active inside the octagon. It's just that, do you really want to bet on someone who's lost 4 of her last 5 fights? I don't know. I'm with you, though, Cole. I'm going to pick Mazzani in this fight just because it's a pure fan Ostovich. She's not that good at all. I don't think she's really a UFC caliber fighter, but do I really want to lay -150 on Ostovich and lay a full price and watch this fight? I don't know. I think she wins. Again, the name of the day is winning bets. The name of the day is value. I think she does win this fight, but you guys know what I like to do. I like to bet on fighters that are consistent and win fights often. This is someone who's barely won anything in the UFC, so I don't know. I guess I'm not as confident as you as her, Cole, but I am going to pick her still. What I am looking at, though, is the under 2.5 rounds at +185, Cole, because I think there's a finish in this fight. I do believe that we will see a rare finish in a women's fight. I don't think either of these women has the cardio to really go the full 50 minutes. Maybe Mazany does. I don't think Ostovich has 50 minutes of cardio call. I think she's about 5 minutes of cardio call. Again, I can see why the UFC likes Ostovich. We all can. You've seen her Instagram, guys. You guys know what I'm talking about. But is she really an MMA fighter? I don't know. So my pick's going to be Mazany. I think she can submit Rachel Ostovich. Let's take a look at that. Mazany by submission. Plus 700. That's not bad. I think she finishes this fight. I think this fight's going to end inside distance. So I would rather bet the under 2.5 at plus 185 because there is a chance Ostovich could maybe get an armbar. You never know. But overall, I mean, this fight shouldn't be in the UFC, man. Next up, Martin Day against Anderson Dos Santos Cole. Right now we have Martin Day minus 165, Dos Santos plus 145. Who are you going to pick, Martin Day or the mixture between Anderson Silva and Junior Dos Santos?
These next two fights coming up for me are the hardest fights to call just because I'm not high on either guy. Martin Day, I got knocked out against David. I picked David last fight as an underdog. He's returning pretty quickly after getting knocked out. Anderson Dos Santos, though, hasn't showed much in the UFC. Obviously, 0-2, lost to Nadia Armani and Andre Ewell, who are respectable opponents. I lean Martin Day slightly. I've been more impressed with him. I think he's a bit better of a striker. I think he can I like his footwork. He was looking good against Dave Grant until he got caught. So you can't really – I do wonder about his chin, though, because he didn't take much time off. So maybe Dos Santos can connect on something big and knock him out. But, again, this is a fight I have no interest in betting just because I'm not high on either guy. But it's do or die for either guy. Whoever loses is going to get caught. Both guys are 0-2 in the UFC, so it's really hard to trust either one. I'll pick Day to be a bit more active, just land a bit more shots and probably win a decision, but no bet for me on this fight. I
like Martin Day in this fight too. The last fight, man, that was a good fight, by the way, with Davey Grant. And my buddy texted me. He's like, dude, who do I bet? I said, put some money on Grant as a dog. And he goes out there and gets the knockout, but it was a competitive fight. That does worry me, though, getting KO'd like that by a guy like Davey Grant who's not a knockout artist. So that does worry me, Cole. But overall, Martin Day's got some advantages. He's a little bit younger. He's got a 3-inch reach advantage, 5-inch height advantage. He's more active as far as landing strikes goes. His takedown defense is decent as well. So I think that overall he's got a lot of advantage in this fight. Dos Santos, he's been kind of just meh, and the UFC haven't been impressed with him at all. It's definitely a close fight. It's probably a loser leaves town fight. But overall, I've been slightly more impressed with Martin Day. I know both guys haven't won yet in the UFC, but I think he's been a little bit closer to getting his hand raised. So Martin Day by decision. That's how I'm looking at this one, Cole. That'd be my pick. As far as the bet goes, I mean, honestly, the line's dropping, so it's definitely something to consider, I think, at this point. If he gets down, well, it's already a decent price. If you get down a little bit lower, you could do a straight bet on him. I think he wins this fight, guys. I really do. But again, 0-2 in the UFC, is this the kind of guy you want to put your hard-earned money on? I don't know. I like to bet on guys who are winners, man. That's me. But someone does win and lose in this fight, and I do think it's probably going to be Day getting his hand raised. Next up, Ashley Evans-Smith against Norma Dumont. This fight shouldn't be – why is this headlining the prelims call? I don't get that at all. Right now we have close odds. Evan Smith minus 120, Dumont plus 100. Who's your pick here?
Yeah, this has been a pick 'em all week. So obviously slightly on Ashley Evans Smith. That's how I kind of lean too. Ashley Evans Smith, I know she hasn't fought in quite some time. February 2019, the layoff does scare me. She has not looked good in the UFC. She was in the UFC for a while. Like she was 3-0 going into the UFC. Lost to Raquel Pennington, tough fight. Beat Marion Rowe, Veronica Macedo, then lost to Kayla Vieira. And submitted in the first round by Sarah Morais, which does not say with only because I don't think Morais is that good. Beat Beck Rollins and lost to Angel Lee. She's been off for a while, but Norma Dumont is someone I am not high at all. She's dropped down to bantamweight. UFC debut got knocked out by Megan Anderson. Before that, she really didn't fight anyone that good in the Brazil regional scenes. Beat a girl by majority decision, 13-8. And she got into the UFC after 2-year layoffs, which I never understood. This fight, again, complete pass, even though I like Evan Smith to probably be a bit more active. Stop the takedowns, win a decision. I have no interest in this fight. I don't know why this fight's booked in the UFC. I don't really think either girl is UFC caliber, so I would be surprised if the loser gets cut. And even if Dumont loses, and she's only 0-2.
Yeah, and I know on paper that Evan Smith does that win over Renault. That was one of the worst decisions of all time. That is a horrible decision. And I remember Renault dominated in the first round, and I think 2 judges gave Smith the first round. It made no sense. Anyways, Smith doesn't fight that often. She's never impressed me. I know she's got an okay ground game, I guess. Her wrestling's okay, but she's never impressed me. Dumont obviously coming off a bad loss. But I think there's a little bit more potential there, hopefully. So this is a coin flip, guys. Obviously, you look at the odds. It's a coin flip for a reason. I'm going to slightly lean towards Dumont to pure fade and Evan Smith. I want to fade both of them, but I can't. But I will fade the older fighter, Evan Smith. I'll take Dumont to win a decision in a really bad fight. I don't know why this is the the feature prelim. Are you kidding me? How could like a fight like Kamaka just won fight of the night? He could have easily been the feature prelim. Anyways, let's go through the main card quick. We don't have a lot of time left in this podcast. Bill Algeo against Spy Carlisle. Great fights. I like this one a lot. Right now we have Spy Carlisle on -165, Algeo +145. Who's your pick?
I'll go with the underdog Bill Algeo. I'm just not too high on Spy Carlisle. The guy, I think, has a low fight IQ, and I think if he gets out of the first round, he gasses, which kind of sucks against the Quarantilla, where he lost the last 2 rounds. I wouldn't be surprised if the same thing happens here with Bill Algeo, where Spike Carlisle really puts it on Bill, wins the first round pretty convincingly, but kind of gasses himself out, and Bill just outstrikes him in the second and third round and wins a decision. I think Bill put on a great fight against Ricardo Lamas, which was a tough debut. He's had a tough run, like Brendan Loughnane. Look who he lost to: Jared Gordon, Shane Burgos. Like, his losses are to really good guys. Is Spike Carlisle that good? I'm not too sure. So I do worry about his cardio. I do worry about his fight IQ, which you obviously saw in the Quarantilla, where he just turned around with like 10 seconds left. Like, I don't want to bet this guy. I like Algeo as a dog to probably win a decision, win the last 2 rounds after Carlisle gasses.
Yeah, I actually agree with you completely on this one. I think the same thing happens. I think Spike Carlisle, man, that last fight with Quarantilla was a crazy fight, but that first round, he came out like a bat out of hell in that first round and looked great. But getting gassed out. And I think the same thing happens here. Algeo, to me, better cardio, more well-rounded guy, I think, too. Spike Carlisle could definitely get the finish, I think, in the first round here.
Yep.
He's a one-round guy. I think he can get the finish, but overall, Cole, I lean a little bit towards Algeo as a dog. I think it's a pick-em fight, so a +145, I'll take the dog money on Bill Algeo. I thought he looked great against Ricardo Lamas, man. He's a high-output guy. He's definitely a solid fighter. I'm going to look at the stats really quick on this one.
And while you look at that, a bad thing not to do is look at live betting, because I wouldn't be surprised if he gets steamed up even more if Carlisle dominates the first round.
2-inch reach advantage, 4-inch height advantage, so that's some more things in his favor, Algeo. And the strike slam per minute is twice as much as Carlisle is doing, although small sample size. So can't read too much into that, but overall, I will take Bill Algeo. I think there's value on him +145. Let's go to this one. Straight wager. I forgot about getting this comment last one. Dumont's the play here, in my opinion. UFC put her in there versus Anderson with only 4 fights. They know something. They've seen something in her. Limited tape on Dumont. Actually banged up and up in weight. Good in money spot. Good plus money spot. I'm with you completely. I like her too in that fight. I don't love her, but I like her. Sav says who wins Poirier and McGregor. We'll talk about that fight in January, like 18th or something. It's quite a ways away. I don't want to talk about that one right now because I actually really like that fight. And I think it's not as easy as some people are thinking. All right, Cole. We don't have a lot of time left. I want to obviously get some news, but we have 5 fights left to break down. Let's get right through them. Miguel Baeza against Takashi Sato. Right now we have Baeza -155, Sato +135. Who's your pick?
I'm really high on Miguel Baeza. I think the UFC's high on him too. I think this is a good step up in competition. Sato's pretty well known. He earned that step up in competition against Bilal Muhammad, and he obviously faltered a bit there. His UFC wins aren't too good. Jason Witt and Ben Saunders, and I like Baeza to eventually land something big and probably knock out Sato in like the second round. Baeza has a lot of knock power. Knocked out Matt Brown, knocked out Hector Aldana, and he uses a lot of good. He uses leg kicks, which set up the Hector Aldana win. I think he can chop down that legal Alex Sato in the first round, and then eventually, while Sato's a bit hurt, land something big and finish him off in the second. I think it's going to be similar to that Matt Brown where he gets that early finish in the second round.
I like Baeza too. You have to bet on him here, I think. At -155, there's value on Miguel Baeza. There's a lot to like about him here. I mean, the guy he's good, man. He's unbeaten. He's looked incredible in the UFC. That Matt Brown fight was great. The Hector Aldana fight was great. The Victor Reina fight, he looks good in everything. Don't get me wrong, Sato's good. He's got knockout power. He's got some tricks up his sleeve. But there's a lot of things like Baeza, slight reach advantage, taller guy. Like I said, undefeated, a little bit more active in his fights. Sato's got power. He could catch him and knock him out. It's possible, but I doubt it. I think Baeza probably is the one who knocks out Sato or wins the decision here. But yeah, Cole. I like Baeza. Also, man, I'm surprised it's set at 1.5 rounds for the round total. I think it could have been 2.5 rounds. I think it's 50-50 on the decision. So possibly there's value on that over as well. Because I don't know if either guy gets finished in the first round. It's possible, but either way, Baeza, Cole, -155. I think there's value on him, guys, in the spot. All right, next up, Amir Albazi against Shalgas Jumagulov at 125. Right now we have Albazi -110, Jumagulov -110. Pick and fight, Cole. Give me your pick.
I like Jumagulov. I think he got hosed in his last fight against Paiva, and I actually picked Paiva, and that's like I was like, man, I lost that pick, but I take the win on that one. But he got hosed. He should have won that fight. He looked good, and fighting at global. Like he beat Tyson Am, he beat Ali Bagatunov. You don't win those fights unless he has some skill set. Albazi, I think, obviously has a big advantage on the ground. He also submitted Malcolm Gordon in his UFC debut. Looked good in that fight, but I think on the feet, Zalgas throws more output, is a lot better on the feet. I think he can keep the fight standing, which I do think he can. He should be able to win a decision. I don't know if he'll be able to finish Albazi. I don't really know if either guy can get a finish unless Albazi, Smith, Zumagulov, both guys are really durable. So I like the output of Zumagulov to be able to keep it on the feet and win a decision.
This is a close fight. It could definitely go either way. That's why the odds are like that. I know Albazi looked good in his debut, and Zumagulov lost his, but I picked him in that fight call. I think we all know that was a robbery. You look at MMA decisions, almost every media guy had it for Zumagulov. The fans had it for him too. It was a terrible decision, but overall, I mean, I think it's going to be a super close fight. Albazi's a little bit bigger, like a little taller, a little longer, but Zhumagulov's a little bit more active, and I think that's the difference here. He's like a little beast, man. So I like the little pit bull here in Zhumagulov a little bit. I think he wins the decision call, so I'm with you on this one, but it's a close fight, no doubt about it. Next up, we have heavyweight bout Josh Parisian against Parker Porter. Josh Parisian right now is a minus 235 favorite. Parker Porter plus 195. Who do you like here, Cole?
If you got in the opening of minus 160 or minus 165 on Parisian, that's such a good bet. I think this is set up by Parisian to look good. Porter did not look good in his UFC debut. I had talked about it, and he kind of made sense of it. He cut weight for the first time in his career for that fight. He said he was around 290. He was not in shape because he didn't think a call was coming. He said, look, he thought he had to win the CES heavyweight title, defend it once for it, and then probably get on the Contender Series. And he had a kid 2 weeks before that fight. So he said he was getting no sleep, no training because he was worried about his kid. This fight, a full camp, because he got this fight literally like a week after his loss. But I think Parisian, this is kind of a setup fight for Parisian to get a win in the UFC. I think he knocks out Porter in the first. I'm not too impressed with Porter. I think he's a bit too slow for heavyweight. Parisian is pretty fast. So he's on his Contender Series. He looks good. I think Parisian gets Porter out there in the first. I
love Parisian in the spot, man. I'm really surprised. I've seen a lot of people kind of going with Porter as a dog. I don't see it at all. Parisian's a legitimate heavyweight in the UFC. Like, he is really good. He should have been in the UFC a few years ago. He's only 31 years old, too, so I like that about him, man. He's still, like, in his prime. I know he's lost a few times by KO, and to guys that he should have beaten, like Michel Batista on Tough and then Tony Lopez and King of the Cage. But you look at all the wins he has, Cole. Like, the fight over against – he actually should have been in the UFC 2 years ago. He knocked out Greg Rebello with a spinning back fist. I don't know why he didn't get in the UFC. They sent him to Tough. He lost. He fought Brett Martin, who's a really good prospect in his first fight off the Tough, and he lost that fight. Everyone thought he sucked. Since then, he's won 6 straight fights by knockout. Now we know Brett Martin's a legitimate prospect. He was supposed to fight Bigfoot in that fight. I think the commission actually said no because they know Bigfoot would have got KO'd. I really like Parisian in this fight. There's just nothing like about Porter in the spot, Cole. He's older guy. He's 35. He looked horrible in his UFC debut. I know he's got some experience, obviously, against guys like John Jones and Gabriel Gonzaga, but he's lost those fights. He's been knocked out a bunch of times. I don't trust this guy at all. I like Josh Parisian a lot in this fight, Cole. I will be playing him in some capacity here. I know it's a heavyweight fight. Don't love laying juice in heavyweight fights, but I actually think he should be like minus 400 here. I really am that high on this guy. Josh Parisian by first round knockout, Cole takes him down, ground and pound him. I think that's how it's going to go. Parisian by TKO odds minus 110. Pick 'em odds. I think he finishes. There's no way this fight goes distance, right? Cole, can you see any way it goes distance?
I don't even see it going to the second round.
Me either. I think it ends in the first two. Parisian first round TKO. Here we go. John Hunko. John, what's going on, man? Cole, you're really Movembering. Hope you still have it when you come on my show. Love the show.
It'll be gone by then.
I love John too, and I'll be actually on John's show tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern time. He does that South China Morning Post, so I'll be doing that with him. I'll post a link on my Twitter tomorrow. 2 fights, and then we have a little bit of news. We got like 7 minutes left, Cole. We got to go through this quick. Anthony Smith against Devin Clark. Anthony Smith minus 140, Devin Clark plus 120. Who's your pick here?
This is such a hard fight to call because Devin Clark, someone I don't really know what his ceiling is. And you obviously look good against Alonzo Menifield, but how good is Menifield? Menifield's coming off that layoff. Maybe that's a win that doesn't look as good as hindsight, but at the time looked good. Before that, beat Daquan Townsend. Not very good. Lost to Ryan Spann. Beat Darko Stosic. Like he doesn't. What's his best win? Probably Mike Rodriguez or Alonzo Menifield, which are the highest caliber light heavyweights. Anthony Smith, though, has not looked good at all this year. 5th round knockout loss to Glover Teixeira, and you got absolutely dominated by Alexander Rakic. I'm picking Devin Clark as the underdog just because I don't know what Anthony Smith is like right now. I think this is a fight I don't want to bet either side. I'm not high on Devin Clark, and I want to fade Anthony Smith. Anthony Smith, I think, has taken way too much damage this year. I don't know why he's returning. 3 months after he got absolutely dominated, his leg like chopped off against Alexander Rakic. I see a path to victory for both guys. I see Devin Clark using his wrestling, holding Smith down, just kind of ground and pounding him, winning a decision. I can see Anthony Smith stuffing the takedowns, just piecing up Clark on the feet, winning a decision. I'll take Clark just because that's more a fate on Anthony Smith. I don't know where he is at this point in his career, but this is kind of do or die for Anthony Smith if he's gonna be something in the light heavyweight division.
Yeah, I'm with you completely. This is a weird fight, man. I mean, why is he fighting so often this year? He's getting his ass kicked and fighting quickly. He got destroyed by Glover in May, came back, got destroyed by Rakic in August. Now he's coming back against Clark. Listen, Anthony Smith's got a lot of things that you can like about him. He's a huge light heavyweight. He was huge at middleweight too. Big light heavyweight, a lot of experience. He has finishing ability. He's got okay wrestling. It's not horrible. In general, he's a pretty solid fighter, but the last 2 fights, how can you bet on this guy right now? You can't. You have to fade him here. I know Clark, there's a lot of problems with his game too. His chin is not very good. We've seen him get KO'd a few times. He's kind of like a grinder, I guess, in a way. But the last fight, Menifield did show some things to me here in that fight. His chin looked a lot better. He was really durable in that fight. He just fought more aggressively, which I like to see. So I'm actually with you, Cole. I'm going to slightly towards Clark because I think it's a 50-50 fight. I'll take the plus 120, but honestly, guys, I don't think I could bet in this fight because I just feel like both guys have a lot of holes in their game. All right, Cole, main event of the evening. Let's get to this really quick here, Cole. Curtis Blaydes against Derrick Lewis. Curtis Blaydes minus 345, Derrick Lewis plus 285. I'll just say it right away, Cole. I really like Curtis Blaydes in this fight. I think the takedowns win out in this fight, guys. Derrick Lewis, obviously, he's a guy that has the ability to come back late in the fight and get a late KO. We've seen it happen many times. He actually has 5 third-round or later finishes in the UFC, but Curtis Blaydes is a guy that's only been finished by Vigano. It's the first round standing up. I just feel like Curtis Blaydes' wrestling is going to be way too much, Cole. What are your quick thoughts on this fight?
I like Curtis Blaydes don't like at this price because I do worry about his cardio. We saw what Volkov did to him in the later rounds. If Derrick Lewis is still around in that later rounds, he still didn't expend much energy because he got taken down. I think he could knock out Curtis Blaydes. I do wonder, like, we've seen Blaydes get knocked out. Derrick Lewis has a ton of knock power. Lewis also gets up a lot from takedowns just because he's so strong. He doesn't do the conventional thing. He literally just bullies his way up. If he keeps on doing that, Curtis Blaydes, I wouldn't be surprised he knocked him out. I like Curtis Blaydes to just use his wrestling to win a late stoppage.
I think it's stoppage too. Yeah, I was going to say, I think it's TKO.
I think third, fourth round. I can't see it being early. I think Lewis is going to get up from some takedowns, but eventually he's going to get knocked, like TKO'd. But I don't like the price on Curtis Blaydes. I think it's a bit too high. It's
a little too high. I remember writing my article last week. I said, if you can get him at the opener, like minus 250 or something, that's where you should take him because it's going to get steamed up to minus 350, minus 400. I was bang on this one. It might balance out a little bit by fight night, but yeah, I just think there's a lot of advantages for Curtis Blaydes. I actually do agree with you, Cole. I think he takes him down, gets a finish. We have like no time left, but there's a few pieces of news, Cole. Lightning round, okay? PFL is not signing Anderson Silva. Does he sign with one championship instead? What do you think?
No.
Where's he go? Ryzen? He fights again. Anderson Silva will fight again, guys. I'm telling you right now. You think he goes to Ryzen?
One championship already came out, so they don't want him either. So what's he down to? Ryzen and bare knuckle?
Yeah. Oh, bare knuckle too. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Petr Yan, Aljamain Sterling's off 256. And the Jose Aldo Marlon Vera fight. You broke that fight call December 19th card. That's pretty sweet. We got a few fight announcements really fast here. Tony Ferguson against Charles Oliveira. We do have odds for that. Ferguson minus 130, Oliveira plus 110. Surprised with the odds. I gotta be honest, Cole. It seems pretty short in Ferguson's direction. Thought it'd be longer. Khaos Williams against Michel Pereira. We have odds for that. Pereira open as a favorite. I don't know about that one.
Steamed the hell out of that thing.
And what are the odds right now? Pereira.
It should have been
minus one. Yeah, he's still favored. Khaos Williams is a dog, guys. You gotta take Khaos Williams as a dog. I mean, don't like to spoil future fights, but are you kidding me? That guy's a dog right now. Alonzo Menifield is really a night. I know you like this fight, Cole. It's a good one. And then Greg Hardy versus Martin Tybura. Any thoughts on those fights I just named?
Just the Hardy one. I think this is a good test for him. Let's see how good his wrestling is because Tybura has the capability of just holding him down and making him a boring fight. Yeah, and that's on that December 19th card, which is just ridiculously stacked. It's like one of the best cards I've seen. All right, we did it. We actually made it through everything. That's good. So I appreciate everyone tuning in today for the podcast. Thanks, guys. I'll be back on Thursday morning at 10 a.m. I'll be talking about the Tyson card and other MMA news as well. Might be doing a podcast one for odds.com. I'll tweet that out if I am, possibly about the Tyson fight. So I'll let you guys know. It's looking pretty good. But yeah, as far as this goes, that's going to be it for today's podcast. Cole, plug your stuff. Let's get out of here. Twitter, Aquashaw91. The show this week, Badu Jack, Fidel Riley, Gina Mazzani, Parker Porter, articles with all them. I talked to Rashad Coulter. That was up yesterday. Fighter picks for Blaydes and Tyson Jones, Axel Boxers, and some UFC fighters about that, so that should be good. Other than that, everything's always on my Twitter.
Good stuff, Cole. You guys can follow me on Twitter at MMADamMartin. I'm available at bjpen.com, MMAOddsBreaker.com, MMARings.net, and odds.com. Got a lot of content out this week. Definitely check it out, guys. Appreciate you tuning in. I'll be back at 10 a.m. on Thursday morning. Have a good one, guys. Bye.